God follows a man called Jacob. When he is changed, his name is called Israel, a man who wrestles, who fights with God, who struggles with God. And we see a Jacob with his wives and concubines bringing forth 12 sons, Reuben and Simeon and Levi and Judah, Issachar and Zebulun and Gad, Asher, Joseph and Benjamin. And then later on, the children of Joseph, Manasseh and Ephraim, they become part of that family. 12 sons who make up the family of Abraham, who make up the family of Jacob, make up the family of Isaac, make up the family of Jacob, of Abraham. And through them, Israel is born. And in those years, God sends Joseph to Egypt so that he may go ahead and wait for God's children. Because one day they will arrive there. They will arrive there because there will be famine in Canaan. And they will need help, and that help will come from Egypt. And so Joseph is sent way ahead. He goes through so much trouble as he lands in Egypt and becomes a senior government officer, eventually a prime minister. And by the time Jacob and the rest of the family arrives in Egypt, Joseph receives them. Joseph receives them. And we read Genesis, I think it's 46, verse 26 says, all the persons belonging to Jacob who came into Egypt, who were his descendants, not including Jacob's sons' wives, were 66 persons in all. And the sons of Joseph who were born in him in Egypt were 2. All the persons of the house of Jacob who came into Egypt were 70. 70 and does not include the wives. And God told Jacob, go. At some point, Jacob is scared. He doesn't know whether to go or not. But God tells Jacob, yes, go. 47:27. Thus, Israel settled in the land of Egypt, in the land of Goshen, and they gained possession in it. And they were fruitful and multiplied greatly. That recalls God's blessing in Genesis chapter 1. Remember, that is God's promise to Israel, to Adam. Be fruitful and multiply. And that blessing is carried through in the generations that come about, because that's what God has planned for his people. And so they gain a possession of the land, and they are fruitful and they multiply, just like Adam is placed in the Garden of Eden. And what is happening there? There is fruitfulness and there is multiplication. And Jacob lived in the land of Egypt 17 years, 17 more years. And so the days of Jacob, the years of his life, were 147 years. But this is how Genesis ends. Genesis ends with the death of Joseph. Remember, Joseph is like the patron, is like the sponsor. Joseph is the man on whose grace Israel lives in Egypt. Israel is in Egypt because Joseph is there. He lives there. They live there because of the masses of Joseph. Joseph is in favor with Pharaoh, and because of that, Israel will be sustained in Egypt because of this man. But this man dies 110 years. Chapter 50, verse 22. 23, and Joseph saw Ephraim's children of the 3rd generation. So he is quite old. Ephraim has got children, and his children. Joseph saw them. And the children of Machir, the son of Manasseh, were counted as Joseph's own. And Joseph said to his brothers, I am about to die, but God will visit you and bring you up out of this land to the land that he swore to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. Look at those words. God is faithful. Whatever he promised Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, he will do it. He will do it. Then Joseph made the sons of Israel swear, saying, God will surely visit you, and surely you shall carry up my bones from here. So Joseph died 110 years old. They embalmed him, and he was put in a coffin in Egypt. That's how Genesis ends. It ends with Joseph's death. And there's already questions. If you are a good reader of the Bible, if you follow narratives, you should already, by the end of Genesis, you should already be having questions. What will happen next? If Israel has been in Egypt because there is a man that carries grace, if this is the man, this is the sponsor, this is the patron, this is the man under which Israel has come to be sustained in Egypt, what will happen? So Genesis ends with a question, a serious question. What is going to happen? And so Exodus chapter 1. These are the names of the sons of Israel who came to Egypt. So in the Hebrew, you don't know whether to translate the Hebrew word there in the beginning, whether to translate it as these are or and these are. The first line, the first word is a conjunction, by the way, in the book of Exodus. And that means it is connecting the story of Genesis with the story of Exodus. And these are the children, these are the names of the sons of Israel who came to Egypt with Jacob. So you can see the author here, Moses, or whoever is writing this, it could be an entity, it doesn't have to be Moses. The author here wants to take us back to Genesis before now he begins to tell us about the story of Israel in Egypt. He will take, this is what we call a flashback. And you guys are people who know movies and you know, you read storybooks and all that. You know what a flashback is. So he's going to do a flashback to chapter 46, where we got these names again. And he will pick up the story from there and bring us all the way to Egypt. And these are the names of the sons of Israel who came to Egypt with Jacob, each with his household: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah; Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin; Dan and Naphtali; Gad, and Asher. All the descendants of Jacob were 70 persons. Joseph was already in Egypt. Then Joseph died, and all his brothers and all that generation. Look at that. All his brothers and all that generation. So you can see, it is after quite a while they are in Egypt, they die. These brothers, these sons of Jacob, they die. And what do we have now? We have their children and their children. Verse 7 says, but the people of Israel were fruitful and increased greatly. You know, I don't like the way the English flattens what really it says in the original language. In the original language, it is saying something like this: and the children of Israel swarmed. They swarmed all over Egypt. They swarmed and greatly increased, like the insect. We talk about the swarm of bees. They were like bees in Egypt. They were fruitful. They greatly increased. They multiplied. They grew exceedingly strong, so that the land was filled with them. Tell your neighbor, that is what we call the faithfulness of God. That's what we call the faithfulness of God. Because God made a promise to Abraham, and he told him, I will do this. And you can see he is doing it. Of course, in the wrong place, because he promised the land of Canaan. But now it is happening in the land of Egypt. And so there are questions. What is going to happen here? These people are in the wrong place. They are in Egypt, but the blessing of God is supposed to be happening in Canaan. But God keeps his promises. God keeps his promises. And that's the gospel message, I tell you the truth. God keeps his promises. Turn your neighbor and tell them that. You see, God is not a liar. He cannot lie. Whatever he promises, he will keep it. The people of Israel were fruitful. They increased greatly. They multiplied. They grew exceedingly strong, so that the land was filled with them. He made that promise to Abraham. He is keeping it. Verse 8. Now there arose a king over Egypt who did not know Joseph. So let me read the whole chapter, then come back and make some comments. There arose a new king over Egypt who did not know Joseph. And he said to his people, behold, the people of Israel are too many and too mighty for us. Come, let us deal shrewdly with them, lest they multiply. And if war breaks out, they join our enemies and fight against us and escape from the land. Can you look at that statement before I continue reading? Look at that statement. If war breaks out, they join our enemies, fight against us, and escape from the land. That is the king just basically doing a prophecy against himself, because it will happen. But it will not happen through Israel. Yahweh will do exactly that. He will come over the land and he will do exactly that. Therefore, they set taskmasters over them to afflict them with heavy burdens. They built for Pharaoh store cities, Pithom and Ramses. But the more they were oppressed, the more they multiplied, and the more they spread abroad. And the Egyptians were in dread of the people of Israel. So they ruthlessly made the people of Israel work as slaves and made their lives bitter with hard service in mortar and brick and in all kinds of work in the field. In all their work, they ruthlessly made them work as slaves. Verse 13 and 14, I would really want to dwell a little bit there. I don't know whether we'll reach there today, but when I get there, I would want to dwell there quite a bit. Verse 15, the king of Egypt sent the Hebrew midwives, one of whom was named Shiphrah and the other Puah. When you serve as midwives to the Hebrew women and see them on the bath stool, in fact, I should read, when you serve as midwife to the Hebrew women and you see the bath stool. So translators are trying to make sense of that. And so it changes from seeing the bath stool to seeing them on the bath stool. So there's Shiphrah here and there is Puah. When you serve as midwife to the Hebrew women and see them on the bath stool, if it is a son, you shall kill him. But if it is a daughter, she shall live. Verse 17 says, but the midwives feared God and did not do as the king of Egypt commanded them, but let the male children live. So the king of Egypt called the midwives and said to them, why have you done this? And let the male children live. And the midwives said to Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not like the Egyptian women, for they are vigorous and give birth before the midwife comes to them. And I've heard funny prayers being prayed over women when they are going to labor. Verse 20, so God dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and grew very strong. So how many times is that repeated in chapter 1? This is now the third time it is repeated. Verse 21. And because the midwives feared God, he gave them families. We don't know what that means, but it could be that the midwives were the women in the community who didn't have families, who did not have children. And so that was a specific role delegated to them because they are either barren, they don't have families, they don't have children. And so they can serve children this way. So because of that, God blessed them and he gave them families. Then Pharaoh commanded all his people, every son that is born to the Hebrews, you shall cast into the Nile, but you shall let every daughter live. Gospel life, I would really wish that we knew how to read stories and see the twists and the turns and enjoy reading biblical stories. Like when I read chapter 1, even now, as I read, I am seeing the twists and the turns of the story. For example, it is possible that the king who is dealing with Shipra and Puah is not the king who is killing the boys. Could be different. Because we have just been told there, and the people multiplied and grew very strong. That sounds to me like it's a long period of time. And then there's another Pharaoh in the picture, and he is also worried about the growth of the Israelites. And he is asking, he is referring, and he is told there were some midwives who were told to kill every boy on the birth stool. They have not been faithful, and now he comes with another way of destroying the children of Israel. It looks to me like that is what is happening. And so when we read this story, sometimes we read the story of the coming out of Egypt from Exodus 1 all the way to 15, and then we read about this Pharaoh, and we think it is just one and the same Pharaoh all the way. It is the Pharaoh who did not know Joseph. It is the Pharaoh who oppressed the Israelites. It's the same Pharaoh who is trying to kill the babies. It is the same Pharaoh who is killing the boys. It's the same Pharaoh who God confronts through the plagues. It's the same. No, I don't think so. These are many years, over a long period of time. And the pharaohs who come one after another, they are given to destroying the children of Israel. You see, Pharaoh is a symbol of oppressive power. Pharaoh is a symbol. Pharaoh represents oppressive power and human defiance against God. That's what Pharaoh represents. You read about Pharaoh here, and you're reading about a political, oppressive power. A human being and human beings who are defiant against God. Pharaoh's harsh treatment of Israel represents the unredeemed worldly power and rebellion against God. You need to hear this, so that when you read the word Pharaoh, you don't just read and pass by. You read and wait a little bit and see what Pharaoh is doing to God's people, and feel it, even in our day and time. Feel what the present day political powers are doing to the people. His harsh treatment of Israel represents the unredeemed worldly power and rebellion against God. And last year, as we came to the close of the year, we spent quite some time talking about what we are up against. I don't know how many of you can remember that. And we said we are up against Satan. We are up against God, the God of this age. We said we are up against rulers. We are up against authorities. We are up against world rulers of this darkness. So says Ephesians, we are up against spiritual forces of wickedness in the heavenly places. The book of Revelation speaks about us being up against beasts and Antichrist. But we are also up against the flesh. And all these are represented by this Egyptian tyrant called Pharaoh. Pharaoh is an office. It's not just a person. Pharaoh is an office and a system that is bound to destroy God's people. That is given to destroy God's plan and God's purposes. Pharaohs are still alive today, and they are coming against us every single day of our lives. That's why you will see Christians on fire for Jesus. And tomorrow they are as cold as the water in the fridge. And they cannot lift up their hands to worship God. They cannot lift up their spirits to worship God. Because Pharaoh is seated on them. They are oppressed. Pharaohs of this world are still alive. Pharaoh is an insecure politician. And you know what insecure politicians do. Pharaoh will do anything possible to destroy that which carries the seed of God. So this new Pharaoh here does not remember the good man called Joseph. He doesn't remember the past. He has got no sense of the past. He doesn't know the story of this man Joseph, who once upon a time saved the whole country from 7 years of huge famine. He doesn't remember that. He doesn't remember that. He is ungrateful. He's a politician. He is ungrateful. He has no sense of the past. He is greed and political expediency are what runs his life. He is an evil beast. That's what he is. He is an antichrist. And so in verse 8 it says, and a new king rose over Egypt who did not know Joseph. He has no sense of the past. He has no recollection of the past. He's saying to his people, look, the people of Israel are greater and more numerous than us. He is competitive. He is insecure. The people of Israel are greater and more numerous. He's jealous and envious. Verse 10, come, we must deal shrewdly with them lest they become many. They are already many. He is scared of what they can become. And when war happens, they also will join our enemies and will fight against us and go up from the land. He is insecure of tomorrow. He is insecure of the future. He is a political tyrant that is insecure. And there is no difference. That's what happens in our day and time. Insecure politicians will do anything in their constituencies and political wants. They will do anything in the country to destroy people. There's all sorts of propagandas that run around, including vaccines we do not understand. I'm just throwing. Because sometimes we don't think. Sometimes we don't think. Okay. So before those guys who vaccinate come into your estate, okay, they have knocked the door. Oh, we are here, they are wearing white. We are coming to do what? To immunize, not vaccinate. Immunization is a better word? Immunize. Do you ask them questions? Or you just run quickly? Here is the baby. Do you ask questions? What is it for? Why does my baby need it? Do you ask those kind of questions? Or you just submit? Because this could be Pharaoic powers, insecure political maneuvers that are trying to carry out things that we do not know. Because that's what politicians do. That's what Pharaoh does. And it has never stopped. He did it so many years ago. They still do it in our day. They are insecure. They will make sure that in certain places, the populations are down. Greed and political expediency are what runs these kinds of people. They will do anything possible to reduce populations when it is necessary. Come, we must deal shrewdly with them, lest they become many. And when war happens, you can now read there, when elections happen, we need to apply the word of God, man. In our context, when war happens, they also will join our enemies and will fight against us and go up from the land. And right there you can see his motivations: envy, jealousy, fear, control. Pharaoh is an insecure man. He is controlled by fear and sees Israel as a threat to national security. Those are words that are saying in our nation every time. National security. When you hear the word national security, what comes in your mind? Because those words can be used, in fact, those words can be used to hoodwink you. Oh no, we are doing this for the sake of national security. Can you look at your neighbor and ask them, which national security? Which one? Which one? Because sometimes these words are thrown all over on TV, for the sake of national security, for the sake of national security, for the sake of national security, we are going to do this, for the sake of national security, we are going to do that. Which national security? Is it national security or someone is just being insecure? I told you, I know I'm treading on a very dangerous ground here. And fear controls all human tyrants. Fear controls all human tyrants. When the fear of losing power grips you, you are ready to do anything to protect yourself and your kingdom or even your reputation. I tell you the truth. Let me read that again. When the fear of losing power, and I may be reading power like this, and the only thing you can think it's Ruto and his government. No, it could just be power over your boyfriend or power over your girlfriend. It is as simple as that. Power over your marriage, power over your business, power over the things that you control, power over your reputation. When the fear of losing power grips you, you are ready to do anything to protect yourself and your kingdom or even your reputation. Fear can shape your thoughts. Fear can shape your opinions. Fear can shape your motivations. And so you begin to engage in self-protection. And that's what we see next. Self-protection. Yeah. Instead of loving our neighbors, we come out to destroy them because we view them as enemies. Pharaoh represents how we react every time we are threatened by loss of power. Pharaoh represents how we react every time we are threatened by the loss of power in our lives. The way Pharaoh is reacting here, that is how we usually react. Self-protection. We go into self-protection mode. And it's all over the place. It's all over the place. Gospel life. Many of you are young. You must learn how to interpret life. You must learn how to interpret what is happening around you. You must learn how to interpret social media, how to interpret systems and narratives that are running around. You must learn how to interpret them. This week we have been treated to so much noise on the social media this last week around Sarah Mutali, the former Sarah Kabu, this week. And let me tell you, I am worried already how many women, by the time that woman shuts her mouth, how many women will be in the same prison she's in? Just because they cannot interpret what is happening. They are just caught up in the emotion. They are caught up in the emotion of Sarah and the former husband, and they have joined her bad wagon. And before long, they are in and they cannot even get out. In fact, their marriages are also beginning to have problems. But it's all over. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. It's all over. Fear can shape your thoughts, your opinions, and your motivations. And when that happens, you engage in a gear called self-protection. And you can do anything to self-protect. Anything. You can even kill. This is what happens to humans. And this is what happens to Pharaoh. And what he prophesies, in fact, happens. Not by the Israelites, but by Yahweh, who will defeat Pharaoh and Egypt. And you know, there's a promise. There's a promise of God. One day God will come back. He will defeat Satan and all his angels. And that promise remains. I don't know which side you will be when God comes back to deal with his enemies once for all. I don't know what side you will be. If you will be on the side of Jesus Christ, you will be on the good books. You will be saved. There will be no judgment over you. But if you will be on the other side of Satan and the gods of this world and principalities and powers, you will be destroyed together. When God comes to finally release judgment on this world that does not obey him, to release judgment on Pharaoh and Egypt. Pharaoh devises a plan. There are no politicians without plans. Yeah, and most of these plans are done at night. You wonder why they do them at night. Can you ask, just ask your neighbor a simple question. Why do politicians meet at night to plan? Why? For heaven's sake. So Pharaoh devises a plan, a strategy. And Satan and the world will always have a strategy to bring you down, child of God. I tell you the truth. There. That's what Pharaoh is going to do to the children of Israel. Listen, that's what Satan and his system does to us every day. Every day. Forced labor. Let me try to see whether I can explain the first one before we come to an end. Forced labor. Forced and hard labor for building of public projects. They set taskmasters, verse 11, over them to afflict them with heavy burdens. So this Pharaoh is insecure. He doesn't want the growth of the children of Israel. He thinks if war breaks, these people will fight against us and they will win. They are doing well. They are succeeding. They love God. They love their religion. But I need to stop them because it looks like if I allow them to continue growing, I will not be able to overcome them. And so he comes up with a plan. And the first plan is he will force them and give them hard labor for the building of public projects, Pithom and Ramesses. Heavy burdens, building Pharaoic store cities, oppressing them, affliction with heavy burdens. Affliction. That is physical. For them it is physical. For us, it's both spiritual and physical. Satan afflicts you with heavy burdens. Sometimes, listen to me. Sometimes that Satan is your employer. He is being used by the systems of the world. And he comes over you and he afflicts you with heavy burdens. Abundance. You become a slave. Become a slave. You work for a huge organization, but you are a slave to that organization. You cannot sleep well. You wake up early, you sleep late. It's no time with your children. There's no time for prayer. There's no time for church. There's no time for relationships. You cannot call your mother. You cannot call your sister. When there are family gatherings, you cannot attend. Why? Because you're in Nakuru. You're in Marsabit. You become a slave. They were tasked with building Pharaoh's kingdom. Not the kingdom of God. Pharaoh's kingdom. His store cities. Pithom and Ramesses. And I want to submit to you, friends, this is what the world does to us. Because we don't have a strategy against Satan and the world. This is what the world does to us. You are given so much work by your organization and by your boss to build that kingdom and that organization that you do not have time for God, time for family, time for the Bible, time to refresh and to engage in spiritual disciplines. You are just lost in those organizations. That's Pharaoh. That's Pharaoh. That's Pharaoic. You are afflicted with so much work by your taskmaster. Some of you need to begin to see your bosses as taskmasters. And you begin to write that. My taskmaster told me today. You can't even buy. You are afflicted with so much work by your taskmaster that you have no time at all to pray, to read the Bible, to nourish your life, to listen to some good sermon, or even to listen to some good podcasts that will build your spiritual life. And with time you become hollow and careless and empty. Your wife cannot depend on you. Your husband cannot depend on you. Your children cannot depend on you. People around you cannot depend on you. Because you are hollow, you are empty, you are careless, and life just begins to beat you, and you begin to do all sorts of mistakes. Everything around you begins to go down as you build someone else's kingdom. Tell your neighbor, don't allow that. Tell them again, don't allow that. Tell them, develop a strategy for your spiritual life. Yeah. You found that company there, you will leave it there. And by the way, you can leave it in a coffin. You can leave it in a coffin. So decide. There's some spiritual authority over your life that you need to make decision and strategize for your life. What are you going to do? What are you going to do with these Pharaoic governments over your life, organizations, people, sometimes systems, including social media systems? What are you going to do about them? You listen to 10 videos in a day, and before the day ends, you feel you are there's nothing. You are empty. You are empty. You are empty. Mtoto wako ametoka shule anakuja anakuambia, unajua mam, mwalimu wetu leo alituambia Jesus ana ABCD. Naambia wewe kwenda huko. Unaita mimi, mnamuitanga house girls nani? Wewe uka wote mwana huyo. That's Greek for Mrs. Ukut. Yeah, because what is in your mind at that point is your boss. Because the accounts did not balance. Because it was stock taking day. And you need the stock take. And there were several what? Several what? Arrears. There was stock taking. And you have done all the stocks for the month. And there's a gap here of close to 20,000 shillings. You are looking here, you are looking there, you are looking here. You cannot make a connection. You go home to your wife and your children and you are still looking because a taskmaster is over your mind and your hand. And so you arrive, you go to the kitchen, you are going to cook for your people. You mix sukuma, na nini, na ndengu. Na unalete hapa kwa meza. Unalete hapa kwa meza sukuma na nini? Na ndengu. Bwana yako anakuangalia hivi anasema, "Ni nini mbaya leo?" Unamjibu mbaya, unamwambia, "We kula. Unajifanyanga sana. Si mnakulanga huko nje. We kula." Kama anjanjazwa na Roho Mtakatifu, wapi? Ni taskmaster ako over your life. I tell you the truth. Do you have a strategy against that taskmaster? And usually that's the beginning of the going down of that marriage, isn't it? Ilianza wapi? Ilianza nyumbani. Ilianza wapi? Sema kwa Farao. Sema kwa Farao. Ilianza wapi? Kwa Farao. Na ukabeba nyumbani. Beba nyumbani. You don't have time to pray, to read the Bible. You don't have time to nourish your life. At a prayer at home, in a dry, kabisa. There's no prayer. It's no prayer. There shouldn't be some prayer at home once in a while. Well, I'm not this kind of a pastor who tells you pray every night and every morning. I don't do that business. I know life is complicated. But there must be prayer once in a while at home. Gather people together. Hold your hands. Pray and trust God for that marriage. Trust God for that family. Trust God for a thriving spiritual life. Listen to some good sermons. Sometimes listen together. And podcasts. Distribute them. Send podcasts to one another. That's why sometimes I will send links on GospelLife Community Church. And I just hope, munasikizanga, na hope tu, naomba na nina hope. Kuna mtu atafungua hiyo, na asome, ama afanye nini? Asikize. No time to do what? To listen to good sermons and podcasts and build your spiritual life. Juu umekaliwa na nani? Na Pharaoh. And with time, you become hollow, careless, and empty. Your boyfriend begins to see it. Your girlfriend begins to see it. Your dating becomes just physical and there is nothing else. What brings you together is physicality. There is no spiritual, there's no spiritual what? Coming together in the spirit. It's just physicality, and physicality will die, will evaporate at some point. What connects you? Is there something spiritual that brings you together? Become hollow, careless, and empty. You begin to make stupid mistakes. Begin to lose money. Getting into projects that are useless. You begin to make financial decisions that are disastrous. You begin to change jobs, maybe carelessly, without consideration, without bringing people into your life to talk to you. You know, my friend, I am thinking of changing this job. What do you think? Been working for this company for these years. I don't like the environment. I am thinking of changing this. I've done an application. What do you think? You are careless. You are not bringing people into your life to weigh and to judge what is happening in your life. You begin to think you are wise. You can make decisions alone. You run your family alone, the two of you, alone. There's no spiritual voice in the middle. You decide I can date alone. I don't need our whole community to know what is happening in my life. You become careless. That's what carelessness is in this day and time. Eventually you become empty. the world removes every good in your life. You become like a skeleton. People can see you, but the glory you used to carry is no longer there. It has been taken away by the world. And you begin to go down. At that point, you begin to hate your pastor. You begin, in fact, now, the people who give you trouble in your life, on that list, you include your pastor. Hiyo ndio kwenda chini. Because the enemy has a strategy against you. You do not have a strategy against him. It's what's happening for the children of Israel. And the question is, what will happen? For starters, forced labor, hard work. Najaribu kuinuka hivi kwa kitanda useme maneno matatu kwa God. Mwili inakataa. Inakwambia lala. Ni Pharaoh nimekulalia. So what is the year is very early. It is 2025. Do you have a strategy? Maybe we can pray about that. Do you have a strategy? Simama. Kila mtu simame. Do you have a strategy? What is your strategy? Ni nini utakataa? Ni nini utakataa mwaka huu?